Hello, Eddie here, Marketing Lecturer of Think Education, Laureate University. We are now discussing Module 4, which is basically the topics that we are going to discuss in week 7 and week 8. This topic is related to pricing decision in our marketing mix variable. So we've discussed product decision, following our strategic marketing decision, the segmentation, targeting, positioning in the previous module. And now we come to pricing decision. There are a couple of unique features that I'd like to bring to you beforehand. The first one is price is the only marketing mix variables that helps the company to generate revenue. The other marketing mix variables are actually related to costs. So think about creating a product. You will spend some money to develop the product, to do some research, hiring a packaging designer, and so on and so forth. Okay. And price, again, is related to the revenue of the company. And the second unique feature of price is, in comparison to the other marketing variables, is that price is relatively easy to adjust. In fact, if you go to some retailers and you bring the brochures of their competitors, they may be able to match their competitors' prices straight away. So that shows that price is relatively easy to adjust. Okay, now let's have a look at this topic. Okay, in brief, a number of issues that we are going to discuss in pricing decision. The first one is about the role of price and what price concept means, and also the variables that we need to consider when it comes to pricing decision, or the basis of for marketers to set their prices. Okay. And the other thing is that there are several types of pricing strategies that we need to be aware of, and that gives us some ideas in terms of setting our pricing strategies. Okay, so the first thing is about the concept price. Price in the olden days was defined as the amount of money charged for a product. Okay, now if you look at this, actually it is taking the manufacturer's perspective, where they create the product, they develop the product, they launch the product, and they charge a certain amount of money for customers to purchase this product. Okay, now in today's marketing landscape, we take it in a broader perspective. So we take the customer's perspective when we try to define the marketing mix variables, including price. Okay? So price is actually defined as the amount of money that the customers are willingly to spend to acquire the benefit of a product. Okay, or it is the value exchange for a product in a marketing transaction. Okay, now that's another definition. In saying that, please be mindful that marketing transaction in here is probably a little bit short-term orientated, whilst in the context of marketing, we know that the exchange process is actually developed for ongoing relationship or to build relationship with the customers. Okay, so in brief, price is the amount of money that the customers are willingly to exchange or to spend, if you like, to acquire the benefit of a product. Okay. Now, price is again related to revenue, and ultimately it is related to profits. And we know that profit is calculated based on the difference between revenue and total costs. In other words, from economic management perspective, or from financial management perspective, the firm will expect that the price that the customer spend exceeds the total costs, so we still make profit. Okay. All right, and there are two thoughts in terms of pricing. in terms of viewing pricing. The first one is price competition. This is basically the perspective that emphasizes price and matching or beating competitors' prices. Okay, so think about this: when you launch a new product, for instance, to compete effectively, you must be the firm must be the local seller. Okay, and therefore you charge your price low. With that, you actually discourage your competitors to launch similar products to compete with you. Okay, so that's price competition. And the other thing is non-price competition. This is the perspective adopted by companies where they would emphasize the other factors other than price to compete in the market. Okay, they would emphasize, for instance, the features of their products, the quality of their products, the promotion that create premium imagery, luxury imagery, the packaging that they create. Okay, so they would compete beyond prices. Okay. Right, now actually there are several factors that affect pricing decisions. Okay, if you look at that, that diagram hopefully simplifies the variables affecting pricing decision. Okay. The first one is the organizational and marketing objectives, types of pricing objectives, and so on and so forth, until understanding the demand, customers' value, and customers' perceptions of the product. Okay, let's briefly take a look at them. Okay, organizational and marketing objectives. Okay, so prices should be consistent with the goal and mission of the organizations. So for argument's sake, if the organization adopts the principle that their prices, that they are more into the premium market, so that will affect the pricing strategies that they will set for the product. And this is another. This is an example. Let's say if the objective is to increase market share, therefore the price would be set quite relatively low to compete in the market, or they may conduct temporary price reductions. Okay, to raise cash quickly. Okay. All right. In Module 3, we discussed about the core marketing strategy, the positioning. Eventually, that leads us to positioning decision. And that positioning decision is actually leading us or guiding us to be more precise all marketing mix variables that we are going to establish. Okay. And marketing mix variables that we establish also need to be interrelated one to another. Okay, so price traditionally in the olden days, price was considered as the addendum of marketing strategy, where marketers would normally set the price as kind of additional strategy to the entire marketing strategy. They decide the product and the distribution strategy, the promotion, which is basically quite fun for a lot of marketers to decide, and actually that has triggered the perception that marketing is actually advertising campaign, which is quite wrong. Okay. And now marketers are aware, as well as the academic people, aware that that price is not only the addendum to marketing strategy, because price is also related to the value of the brand. Okay, think about think about your decision about buying certain products. When you can compare to the brand that you did not buy. Why is that? And in some instance, you may find the answer relies on the brand's trustworthiness. Okay, or think about a product that is made in certain country, or the in some product categories, we may look at the country of origin and that country of origin may affect our willingness to spend certain amount of money compared to the other products made in different countries. Okay, so we find a connection. In brief, there is a connection between price and the value of the entire package of the marketing mix. Okay, that's the reason why we also need to look at the other marketing mix variables when we set the price. Okay, so from product perspective, high quality product is normally associated with high price. Okay, and that actually creates certain perception in the customer's mind, especially if they have no reference to using this kind of product before. If the customers have no references at all, they have no prior knowledge, the price is one of the information that they are going to use to evaluate whether the product is of high quality or not, because they assume they are quite related. And in fact, marketers need to find a connection between the two. Placement is the same thing. You can compare product in certain retailers and products in the other retailers, such as David Jones, for instance. They represent different pricing strategies. Okay? And the promotion also is also another variable that we also need to show connected to the price, and actually everything should be interrelated. The product, the price, the placements, the promotion should be interrelated. From promotion perspective, premium prices are normally less promoted. Okay, the next thing is the customer interpretations and response to a price. Well, price actually helps marketers to communicate the value of the product to the customers. Okay, and that brings certain response from the customers as well, whether this product resonates to their expectation, and whether it is also enhancing the customer satisfaction. And again, related to the customer perception, value conscious, price conscious, or prestige sensitive, if you look at some classifications of the customer perception. All right, the other area that we also discussed is the demand curve. Broadly speaking, demand curve is downward sloping, like the one that we have in here on the left diagram, where demand is actually normally is downward sloping. And as a downward sloping, it is basically showing negative correlations with price. Right? So the quantity demanded and the price are in negative correlations. What it means is basically the higher the price is, the lower the demand is. And the lower the price is, the larger the quantity is. Okay, so that's what the demand curve is all about. Okay, but in some instances, if we talk about premium or prestige products, ultra expensive products, we may find the demand curve would be different, where we may have a half oval in here. We may have the quantity quite low if the price is too low, because it is losing the credibility, and if it is too expensive, then the quantity comes back low. And the area in P2 is basically optimum price, where customers would optimize the purchase of this kind of product, basically. Okay, this slide shows the stages for establishing prices, starting from the objectives right through the determining a specific price for that product. Okay, I would encourage you to go through your learning material in more detail for this. And developing pricing objectives, it describes what the company wants to achieve through pricing. Is it about the profit? Is it about market share? So these two would drive a different pricing strategies. Okay? Form the basis of decisions about the other stages in establishing prices, and must be explicitly stated and include a time frame. And it also requires consistency with the marketing objectives and the other and also the other marketing variables. Okay. Now, these are some examples of pricing objectives. Normally, you can classify them as survival or profits, or if the objective is about ROI. So we need to identify price levels that enable the company to yield target return on investment. Or would it be around market share, cash flow, status quo, maintain the current status quo, or product quality? Okay, it's also important to understand how the customers would perceive the value of the price that we set, because at the end of the day, our product, the customers are the other parties that are going to spend their money to for our product or service. The other thing I'd like to highlight to you is the evaluation of competitors' prices. Just briefly, in any pricing decisions that we have, we also need to go through the competitors' prices. Okay, how do they set their price? It is probably the price that has sets the standard or the norm in that industry. Okay, now the next one is about selection of a basis for pricing. This is related to there are three bases for pricing. There are three considerations that are important for us to understand. The first one is cost-based pricing, value-based pricing, and competition-based pricing. The cost-based pricing is basically starts with understanding the cost of making the product, and then the company that adopts this basis would add certain markup to the cost that will make the total price that they will charge for the customers. Okay? So there are two things in here: cost plus pricing, which is basically adding a specific dollar amount or percentage to the seller's cost, or the markup pricing, adding to the cost of the product a determined percentage of that cost. Okay? So if our cost is $1 and our markup is normally a third of it, then we are basically, or a half of it, so we are basically charging $1.50 for the customers. The second one is value-based pricing. With this value-based pricing, we actually investigate the perception of the customers about our product. Okay, how much would the customers be willingly to purchase the product? At what level would the customers be willingly to purchase the product? Okay, higher than that, the customers will say, "No, it is a rip-off. It is beyond the value of the product that they would purchase." Okay, so if we look at these first two bases, the cost-based pricing and the value-based pricing, one of the critical differentiation between the two is basically the starting point. Cost-based pricing will start with the product that the company is making, okay, and they will add with the markup or charge certain amount of dollar to the cost. That's the price that they're going to charge, and they will run communication campaign to convince the customers that the product is worth that much. Okay? So the starting point of this cost-based pricing is the product that they are making. Okay? And value-based pricing is different. Value-based pricing starts with the customer's perception. Okay, they start understanding. They start with their understanding with the with the customer's perception. How much would customers believe it is fair? How much would customers believe that it is still valuable for them to purchase? Okay, then they will go away, design the product that meets that needs, and work the cost accordingly. Okay, based on the direction that they receive from the customer's perception. Yeah. And the last one is competition-based pricing, which is basically influenced primarily by competitors' prices. Okay? But again, as discussed before, either one that company adopts, they would normally monitor the competitors' pricing strategies. All right, now we come to a selection of pricing strategy after we discussed about the basis, the perspectives. Okay, now let's look at the range of the pricing strategies. We are not going to discuss everything in this presentation. We are going to discuss the major ones. Okay, differential pricing, which is basically charging different prices to different buyers for the same quality and same quantity of product. We have negotiated pricing. Some retailers may open for discussion with the customers in terms of establishing the final price through bargaining. Okay. The next one, secondary market pricing, where they set one price for the primary target market and a different price for another market. Now, some people also label this as segmented pricing strategy. If you look at train, for instance, or bus, they may charge different pricing strategy for the pensioners, for instance, or students, for instance. Okay, or cinema may charge different pricing strategies for students, for instance. Okay. Some people may perceive this activity as kind of charity. Some may be related to charity, in quote unquote. Some other reasons may revolve around increasing the revenue of this organization. Okay, think about a cinema, for instance. If you charge, let's say, $20 for adult ticket, and your cinema has a capacity of 200 people, with $20, you may be able to invite 7 people to watch, to come to the cinema and watch the movie. Okay? And then if you charge $12 for students, you are actually increasing the revenue. Okay, think about the cost that you pay to rent the space for your cinema will remain the same. Either you invite 70 people, or 100 people, or 120 people to watch a movie in your cinema. Okay. All right. Now this one here is important. New product pricing. Whether you adopt price skimming or penetration pricing. Price skimming is actually adopted by companies that charge the highest possible price that buyers still want to purchase the product. Okay. The intention of price skimming is profit per product, profit per unit that they sell. Okay, they are making high profit per unit. Okay, as a result, the volume that they generate with this strategy is quite low. Okay, but they accept it as long as it is still giving them a sizable business. Okay? The second strategy is penetration pricing. With this, they actually set the price relatively low because they want to penetrate mass market to compete with their brands, okay, and gain a significant volume and market share. Okay, so that's the intention of penetration pricing. How do they get the profit? They get the profit through massive volume. Okay, now with these two, actually there is a tendency that if we go back to the product strategy that we discussed, product classification that we discussed before, in the consumer product category, there is a tendency that convenience product may adopt penetration pricing, because convenience product or grocery product would normally be distributed in mass market, or they need to penetrate the market at a deeper level. Okay? And there is also a tendency that the other types of products, such as the luxurious item or selective products with the specialty, may adopt the price skimming. Okay, now this one here is another set of pricing strategies. The product line pricing. I'll start with the fourth one here, price lining. It is very likely that companies may have more than one item, more than one product line. They offer a range of product line. Therefore, we have pricing strategies for each product line. Okay, and think about for instance, the Accor Hotel, for instance, they may have a standard room, deluxe room, suite room, president's suite room, and they charge different prices for different products. Okay? Captive pricing is actually they charge the basic product in the produce line in low, while pricing related items at a higher level. So that's captive pricing. The next one is premium pricing, where they charge a the highest quality or most versatile products higher than the other models in the product line. And the last one is bait pricing. They charge the certain item low with the intention of selling the other higher price items in the line. So if you go to Westfield Shopping Center, for instance, you may find a store running a promotion for a certain product line. They expect the customers will also buy the other items. And the next one is psychological pricing. There are a range of psychological pricing, and just want to highlight a few main ones here. The reference pricing, which is basically pricing product at moderate level and displaying it next to a more expensive model or brand. So if you charge less to the other expensive model or brand and display a product next to it, you have the benefit of the customers would reference to the expensive model or brand. Now, the other thing I'd like to highlight in terms of reference pricing is it works better if the customers have little knowledge or experience with that product category. Okay. Bundle pricing, they package together two or more products and sell them in one price for a single price. Okay. The intention of psychological pricing is actually to create certain perception, to create certain impression in the customer's mind, whether they the price is cheap or the price is premium. That helps building the premium positioning in the customer's mind. Right. There you go. We have a number of items as well, like the odd even pricing. We go to Woolworths and Coles, we'll be able to find $3.99, for instance, or $4. Okay, they actually reflect the communication of the to the customers. Okay, and EDLP, everyday low prices. Walmart was the one of the first companies adopting everyday low price. Multiple unit pricing, customary pricing. So there are two of psychological pricing. And we also have the prestige pricing, price leaders comparison pricing. Right. And the other thing that that we also discussed early is the opportunity to adjust price is quite easy. Okay, it's quite marketers may adjust their pricing strategies quite regularly. Therefore, one of the things that they can do is price discounting. A number of discounting in here that you can say that marketers may do: trade discounts, quantity discount, cash discount, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's pricing decision. Basically, we are going to continue with the second topic of this module. Stay tuned.